Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we are going to be reviewing Jason versus Freddy. This to me, surprisingly, is sitting at the 2 spot. I'm just going to say it right now. This movie I thought was great overall. Now, don't get me wrong. I know this is going to be a hot take, and I know a lot of the community is not a big fan of the movie itself, but I actually quite enjoyed it. I know it's not like a typical Friday the 13th type movie, but as I'm watching this in chronological order, this movie alone was a nice one after like 3 bad ones, in my opinion, to watch. And I quite like the pacing of it. I like somewhat the story of it. There wasn't really much of a story in this one, but it's just really someone. There is a little bit of a story. It's just not as big as I thought it would be, but um, I don't know. I just this movie, and I'm going to be all over the place with this, but this was just such a fun movie. I actually haven't watched the the Nightmare on Elm Street movies yet. I've just seen clips and brief moments of certain kills that Freddy Krueger has in that, but I personally really liked what they did with Freddy in this movie. I know essentially what he is and what he does, but they start the movie off on a nice little note of him basically in Jason's dreams of him being buried, which it's not in the same like area per se, but maybe like through time, I guess maybe like we saw grass because it was originally just sand the first time we saw him buried there in that prior movie. Again, watching it chronological order, we'll be watching Jason X last, but um, yeah, for me this was just a lot of fun and it was enjoyable. You started off right away, and they don't waste any time. They introduce Freddy right away. He's the reason Jason's back to life. He's trying to strike fear back into people so he can, get back into the mix of things and hopefully, torment everyone like he used to do in his movies through their dreams, but he couldn't really do that because no one feared him. So he's one of those characters, kind of like I want to say like Pennywise in a way, where he feeds off fear and he needs that to survive as like one of these horror icons. And for me, I thought it was actually pretty well done. Utilizing Jason to kind of strike fear into people. Starts off the movie with just only getting 1 kill, and he collapses the bed on one person. I think that might have actually been in one of his movies before, but I thought that was a nice little intro because like Jason didn't go on his typical killing spree right away. He could have easily have just gone through the rest of the house and taken out everyone else, but they set it up to a point where they really could like build on the story they had, which was Freddy trying to strike fear into people, and then eventually, getting his full power back. Because we saw at one moment early on, he didn't have his full power as he was trying to go through someone with his big fist that he had, and he couldn't take that said person out because of the fact that um he didn't have like his full power back. And then a minute later Jason takes out the same person, but he kind of let Jason go on a little bit of a spree, but then Jason interferes at one point and takes Freddy completely away from the kill he was going to have. And then that's kind of when this whole Jason versus Freddy situation happens, because like right away they were technically teaming up, and then they kind of just butt heads from that moment on. And then we see him target the main girl here in this movie. I forget her name. I'm really bad with the names in these movies because they continuously change. But we see, him utilize her and try to take her over because now Jason's KO'd, and he, fought Jason a little bit, and then he's dealing with her at the same time, and then he kind of turns his focus more towards her. Jason eventually wakes up, and then we see him in the woods later on in the movie where um, we really get to see our Freddy versus Jason showdown. But um, the way they brought him into the real world, I liked, because it kind of was one of those things where the girl was in the dream world, and then they used fire, which Freddy doesn't like, um, or he maybe fear. I don't know if it's like or fear, but they use fire on the girl's hand by complete accident. But um, she's like swings and hits him in the face, and then it wakes her up, and then she like pulls him into the real world, which I thought was a nice and interesting touch. I actually really liked that. Um, I thought it was a really subtle way of bringing him in, and then we saw like a showdown between Jason and Freddy, which lasted like a good 20 minutes. I thought it was a pretty fun one, a little cringe at times, but for me it was more so fun because Freddy brings that like comic relief in the fight. So he's sitting there talking, his trash to Jason throughout the entire fight, which I liked, and then when he used the tanks as like, you know, missiles in a sense. Um, it was just funny because Jason dodges a few and then he hits them and then he goes on his little spree and then he screws up because, you know, he's kind of like a joking type slasher like killer in these movies. So for me it was like a lot of fun because, you know, we got to see like our zombie Jason form from the sixth one, which still holds its spot. But we also got to see, you know, a little comic relief there from Freddy, which I quite enjoyed. So, um, yeah, that's all I really have to say, guys. I thought it was great. I know it's a hot take. I know a lot of people aren't gonna like my opinions on it, but it is what it is. It's gonna be sitting at the two spot for me. Sinister Horror Time on YouTube and TikTok, guys. If you want to help me out on my Amazon wish list, getting new movies and whatnot, I just bought a few more today. I'll be showcasing that in the upcoming video, but sorry to cut that off abruptly. I try to keep it under 6 minutes. So for now, guys, I'm gonna sign on off, and I'll see you next time.